Welcome everybody to Senior Computer Buddies. Our guest today is Anna Longo. She's going to present on managing photos using Apple devices and Macintosh computers. Welcome, Anna.
I am currently running iCloud and a photo library that links my iPhone, my photos on my Mac, and in the cloud. And so what I'm going to do is just share some general information with you, and we'll go through the slides, and then I'll show you how I actually do it, and you can ask questions at that time. But first, let's just see how many of you are working in a Mac environment right now. How many are working on an iPad? How many have an iPhone? Okay. So, and how many have a MacBook? Okay. So a combination. That's great. So for someone like me, I started with an iPad, and that was my first Mac device. And then I moved to an iPhone and then to a MacBook. And now I have them all linked. And the reason that they're linked is then I don't have to sync my devices. That happens automatically. And I do that through the cloud. And so there's a lot of misconceptions about what the cloud does relative to what your devices do. And so it's important to go through the Apple information from their site just to give you a general understanding. Now, if I don't give you what you need today and you need more, Apple runs classes in their store, and they do a great job in this particular area. So don't ever hesitate to go to one of the Apple stores and sign up for a class, because I do all the time. So if I'm not sure about something, I go. I was having storage issues last week, and I immediately went to the Apple store, and they helped me clean out some old information that I probably should have known better. I had 38,000 Gmail emails that were plugging up my system, and all of a sudden everything kind of came to an end. All right, so let's start with my presentation. So I am running a Mac OS Sierra version 10.13.4. Why that's important is you need to know whether or not the devices that you're working are powerful enough to handle what you want to do. And I have over 20,000 pictures. So that's something that's going to be a problem for me long term, because I only have 16 gigabytes of memory on this computer, which sounds like a lot, but it really isn't when you're storing as much as I'm trying to store. And that's why the cloud is so important for me. I pay 99 cents a month for my storage on the cloud, and that's not going to be enough soon. Soon I'm going to have to decide whether I want to pay more real money or whether I'm going to have to start deleting. And I don't really want to delete because I've already gone through and cleaned out my photos quite a few times. So that's something you need to understand, is how much memory do you have? And how you do that is you go up to the top corner here. So if you hit on the Apple and then you go to, what did I say, About This Mac, it'll tell you how much memory you have on your system. And I'm going down to very basic level. So if you already know all of this, sorry, I'm not sure what your knowledge base is, so I'm going to go right down to the very beginning. iCloud Photo Library works seamlessly with photos, with all the apps, your photos, videos in the iCloud on your phone, iPad, iPod Touch, Mac, Apple TV, and iCloud. So you can really link all of your devices if you are an Apple-friendly home. And here's how it works. iCloud Photo Library automatically keeps every photo and video you take in the cloud. So you can access your library from any device anytime you want. Any changes you make to your collection on one device changes on all your other devices too. So this is really important because some people think that if they delete something from their computer or their phone, it's still sitting in the cloud. And that's not true. It's linked, all of the devices. So if you delete something, it's gone. I mean, it sits in the memory of your computer for about 30 days before it actually goes away. You could go back and get it if your computer is set to hold the messages for 30 days. So what you need to keep in mind is anything you do on any of your devices, if you're set up in the cloud, it'll automatically do that for all of your devices. So you have to remember that if you are deleting something, it's really gone from the cloud. You can't go and get it back. And that's important to understand because you don't want to be losing something that you thought you were saving. So make sure you're doing backups on another hard drive or a disk or something if you want to keep something and you don't want it to disappear. I was under the assumption that if I deleted something from my computer, it was okay because it was still in the cloud and I could go and get it. And fortunately, I didn't delete anything. And I also do a backup to my time machine, which I thought if it's backed up to my time machine, it's always there. Well, that's only true until your next update. So the next time you update, if you've deleted something, then it's not there anymore. Okay? So just remember if there's something that you really want to keep, that you back it up somewhere that isn't linked to the cloud or to one of your Mac devices, because otherwise you could inadvertently get rid of things that you want to keep. So what's wonderful about Apple is that they are organizing your photos now by moments, collections, and years. And you don't have to do anything for that. It automatically happens. And you can quickly look at things and they've sorted it for you. You don't have to do that. But if you want to sort things into albums, then you sort your own albums. And I'll show you how to do that as well. I create albums for lots of different reasons. And so I'll show you, I created an album for flowers. So every time I take a picture of a flower, I put it in my album called Flowers. And that way, if I'm looking for a screenshot for my computer, I can go to my flowers and pick a background. Just as a very basic example of how I might use one of my albums. I also do family albums so that if it's Christmas or a special occasion, I'll create an album and then a slideshow from that album. Then if I ever want to look at it or show my pictures to somebody, it's sitting there in an album and I can show them quickly. But in order to do some of these things, you have to remember that every time you're doing an update, your computer has to be connected to Wi-Fi and your battery has to be charged. And so that updates won't happen if those two criteria aren't met. So you might look at your phone one day and go, I took all these pictures, but why does my computer not showing me the pictures? They're not there. Well, probably you didn't have your computer plugged in and connected to Wi-Fi, or your battery is running low and the update didn't happen. So then do those two things and it should update the next time, and then you'll be current again. The other thing is, how long does it take for an update to happen? Well, that depends on your internet speed, and that's different for all of us. I had a very large update because I had been downloading photos without adding them to my iPhotos, and I realized that that was taking storage space off on my computer, and I needed the storage space. So when I was at the Apple store, I had them take about 10,000 photos and move them over into the cloud, and that took 2 days. So if your update is going slow, that's normal if you've got large files. The other thing about Photos and Mac is they're really smart in how they set up their system. And so when you're looking at your computer and you're looking at your albums, if you're looking at the thumbnail, you're looking at a low resolution image. The high resolution image is on the cloud. And it doesn't bring that photo back in a high resolution until you click on the photo. So if you were going to do a backup and save images, you would have to make sure that you click on every image and have it come up, so that when you're saving to a disk or burning a a DVD or something, that you actually are getting the high resolution. Otherwise, you're getting a low resolution image and you won't be able to print pictures or something if you want to. And that's not anything that they tell you unless you go and take one of their courses or ask questions. So because high resolution is important to me in what I'm working on, I would always want to make sure that I had a high resolution image, because the clarity won't be good with what they're saving. The minute you touch it, the minute you touch the photo, like you actually select it, then you switch to high resolution, but you have to select the image in order for that to happen. Now, the other thing you need to remember is that before you do anything significant, you should update your iPhone, your iPad, your iPod to the latest iOS. Now, John and I have this conversation all the time. He thinks you should wait and not do updates right away. And I asked that question because I think if they're running an update, I should do it right away because it's usually security. So what the gentleman last week told me at the Apple store is a new launch for a new Apple system, you should wait. And so John is right. You should wait and see if there are bugs and let other people work through the bugs. And by wait, he means a couple weeks. But for most of the updates that are happening, just the real quick little updates, you should run those right away. And the reason you should run them right away is because they're more than likely security type updates, and they're very small, and it's better to patch the security issue than to leave it. So we're both right. So wait for big updates and do all the little ones as they come up, even though it gets annoying sometimes to have all your apps updating all the time, but it's security based and it's important to do that. So when you get started, the first thing you want to do is go and set up iCloud on all of your devices and make sure that you're signed into iCloud with the same Apple ID on all of your devices that you want to use with iCloud Photo Library. Now, I had something interesting happen when I updated last week. When I updated my Mac operating system, Sierra wanted me to create a new password for my iCloud. And so the information that I got from the Apple site and the information that actually happened for me was different, and I haven't had a chance to ask anybody at Apple about it yet. So don't panic if it wants a new password. They may be trying to add in another layer of security, and so instead of using your Apple ID that you usually use, they may want you to have an iCloud password as well. So that could happen. And just be aware of that. So now, if you're using a Windows PC, that's a whole other training session, so we're just going to skip that. You're probably best to go to Apple and have them work with you on that directly. But if we're all in an Apple environment, then I think we're fine. So this is how you would make sure that your iCloud photo library was set up. You go to your iPhone, iPad, or iTouch, and you would go to Settings, iCloud, Photos, and then turn on iCloud Photo Library. In iOS 10.2 or earlier, you go to Settings, iCloud, Photos. On your Mac, you go to OS X 10.10.3 or later, go to Systems Preferences, iCloud, click Options, and then go to Photos and select iCloud Photo Library. Using Apple TV, is anybody using? You are, okay. So then here you want to make sure that your Apple TV is synced as well. So you would go to Settings, Accounts, iCloud, iCloud Photo Library. When you're making edits in the photo app on your iOS device or your Mac, the photos automatically update across all of your devices. So when you crop or enhance a photo from your iPhone, you see the changes when you access your library from your Mac. So why this is important is if you're editing photos on your phone, on your iPad, on your computer, it is wonderful that you don't have to edit your photo 3 times. And it's automatically edited for you. And the next time you use the photo, it will replace itself in any of the albums or projects that you're working on, which is a big deal. So for myself, if I'm editing a photo and I've created an album, and the album is called My Pictures from 2018, and then I create a family album or a category album, and I use that same picture in multiple places, I might not remember that I put that picture in a slideshow presentation that I did 2 years ago. And so it's going to automatically go to all of the places where that photo is and replace it, which saves a lot of time. And then you can go back to those original photos anytime you want if you don't like the cropping or the adjustment that you did. If you brightened a photo and then you go, gee, I don't really like that, I want to go back, you just go back to your original photo, which is wonderful. So even on photos that you have deleted, you can go back and get those photos, and you can restore them if you go to your recently deleted album. After 30 days, they're really gone. But if you do it and then you go, gee, I wish I hadn't done that, you can go back and you can get it again and bring it back into your photo stream. You can make edits on all your devices, and you can see them on all your devices as well, which is great, in all your albums. Your photos and videos are stored in the iCloud exactly as you took them. All of the images are held in their original formats at full resolution. And that's important because the quality of iPhones now is so good that you really don't need to carry a camera with you. And so having high resolution images available to print and to use in albums or slideshows is really very simple when they keep the original extension. So you know a JPEG is a JPEG and a TIFF is a TIFF and a PNG is a PNG, and you don't have to worry about that between Mac and any other devices that you're using. You can share your photos. John and I went on vacation to Savannah, and we were all taking pictures. All of our friends were taking pictures. And when we got home, one of our friends created a Savannah, Georgia stored photos. And so everybody loaded their photos there, and we were all able to share them, even though half my friends lived in Toronto and half my friends live in Dallas. We were still able to share our photos without having to send 1 or 2 pictures at a time. We just put them all there, and then everybody could go and access them, which makes it really fun. And you can also share some of your plans for your storage as well. Might be more economical if there are 2 or more of you using an iCloud account. You could get a larger amount of data and share it, as opposed to buying 2 or 3 iCloud accounts. That's something to look at as well. Now, we talked about storage. This is a really big issue. It's a big issue for me because both my computer and my phone are going to run out of storage soon. And so I have to constantly be watching it to make sure that what I think is running is actually running. Because what happens is if you're not paying attention, then your updates don't happen the way you think they're happening. And that's why you get confused, because you can't figure out where it is and why it's not there. So you should always look at your iCloud storage and your devices. Now, I have the settings for you to make sure that you can check your own iCloud devices. So if you have your device here and you want to check your iCloud, this is how I have mine set up. I have my iCloud photo library turned on, and then I have optimized iPhone storage. So what that means is that they're going to keep my original in the iCloud, and then they're going to manage my data and my storage for me, so I don't have to worry so much about what I just said, about it not updating. So if you want to check yours, if you're using iCloud Photo Library, you don't need to upload to your My Photo stream. That happens automatically, and your photo stream is only the last 30 days or something, so there's really no point in you keeping all of that twice. and that uses storage as well. So if you turn on iCloud Photo Library and you optimize your iPhone storage, then turn off your upload to my photo stream, and I have iCloud photo sharing turned on because of that group that I just told you about, but you don't have to if you're not sharing anything with anybody. You can turn it off. So if you turn on your optimized storage in the iCloud photo library, it automatically manages the size of your library on your device, which is a good thing. Your original photos and videos are stored in the cloud, and space-saving versions are kept on your device. So that's low resolution versus high resolution images. You can download the original photos and videos over Wi-Fi or cellular when you need them, and you can use optimized storage on your iPhone, iPad, or iPad Touch and Mac. If you turn on Download Originals, iCloud Photo Library keeps your original full resolution photos and videos in iCloud and on your device. So if you turn on Download Originals, you're using a lot of storage space on your actual device, whether it's your phone or your computer. So just be aware of that. They're big files. You can pause an upload. You know, if you need to go out and you need to unplug your computer and take it, that's fine. The next time that you plug back in, it will continue where it left off. That's really important if you're at the Apple store or you're at your daughter's or son's or somewhere and you want to go home and you can't, because you want to take your computer with you or your phone with you when you leave. So if you have it set up to go by Wi-Fi, it'll stop until you get back into a Wi-Fi environment and plug in before it keeps going. And then using apple.com is a great resource. If you're not sure, you can search in the tool, and I'll show you how to do that as well. Or go to an Apple course if you want to take more, because they really are very helpful. And I was very pleased to see when I was at the Apple store that they've hired a lot more seniors, elderly people in the store, instead of all young kids. And so I think that they're making a conscious effort to be in tune with who their customers are. And I think that you'll feel more comfortable talking to them if you see that there are other people in the store that are our age as well. So that is my presentation. And now I'm going to go to my photos. So I was talking to you about changing my background screen in photos. So what I would do is I would go here, change desk background, and then I go to my photos and I have an album called Flowers. And so when I click on flowers, then these are all the pictures of all the flowers I've taken, and I can look for a picture that I like better or see what it's going to look like if I change it. And that makes it really user-friendly for me because I have so many things on my desktop. So we're going to go to My Photos, and I'm going to share with you how they have changed some of the areas. And I talked to you about photos and memories and favorites and people and places. So now when you're looking at it in the new updated version, you can very quickly see that they're trying to sort people's photos for them so that you don't have to spend as much time managing your photos. If you don't want to, you don't have to. I did not create any of these. These are my photos. There's 20,172 and 66 videos. So that's a big amount of photos. Most people don't have that many photos, but I do. So if I had to manage where they were going, I would probably just manage them by the year. And that's how I started when I was in iPhotos before, and then it became Photos, and now I don't even know what they call themselves anymore, just Photos. I was doing it by year or by event. Now you don't have to do that because they're automatically categorizing for you. So Photos, so if you go to this icon on the bottom of your screen, the photos icon, and then you click on your library, you'll see photos, memories. So here's all the way back to 2015, all of the different categories that Apple has said I might be interested in. So this isn't me saying I need this categorized. This is Apple intuitively knowing that based on what photos I was taking, I should group them like this. And they're pretty accurate. You know, they break them down in a way that makes sense. So if you haven't taken a look or you haven't done your update, you should, because they're continually making changes, and then you may not have to manage your photos as much as you think you do. Because it wasn't like this the last time I did an update. So here's favorites. This is our little grandson. So obviously I've said that a lot of these photos are my favorites, and so they've grouped them that way. Here's people. So I don't often tag people in my photos, but they're really smart. And so they can tell on Apple and Facebook who people are, even if you just tag somebody once. And so they've grouped all these people together. So there's John. Every time John's in one of my photos, they're putting him in a category. So I could look at all of the photos for just these people if I wanted to. And then on some of them, they're asking me who this person is, because I take lots of pictures of them, but they either don't use Facebook or I don't tag them because they've asked me not to. So they want me to tell them who they are, and I won't, because probably there's a reason I haven't tagged them. And then places, you know, it knows that I'm in Minnesota, and so it's taking pictures from Minnesota and lumping them together. It knows that, you know, I was in St. Paul, and I've been in Canada, and everywhere I've been where I've had a picture, it's put it in that city. And so when you look at a map, it tells me the places that I've been that are linked to the photos that I've taken. It's that they're running a program in the background that says, okay, now she's going to look at it as memories. So let's put all the photos in memories. Now it's going to look at favorites. And so every time, and that's a really good question, every time you look at it in a different way, it's not creating another picture. It's just running another program that shows you a different view. So you don't have to worry that you have all these photos and that it's taking up memory or space 5 times, because the photos are here. The photos are in photos, and then when you're looking at it, it's sorting it for you as memories or favorites or people or places. And then here's your recently deleted. So here, John, I deleted a whole bunch of pictures.
I thought you deleted those.
So I was going through old photos, deleting it to get space, and I realized that this day I took about 12 pictures of him, and they all look almost exactly the same. So I deleted 4 of them. This bird obviously really fascinated me, so I took a whole bunch of pictures. Well, you know, a few years later, I'm going, I don't really need 12 of that picture. I just need to have 3 or 4 of it. It was cool, but I don't need to have that many. You know, we went to a concert and I was doing video. Well, I don't really care so much that I have video from, who do we see?
Jeff Bridges?
No, Bette Midler. Oh, what was her name? Yeah. So I deleted all the video from that because I don't really need it. Here's some wines that I liked. And so I deleted them because I don't really need to know that I liked those wines anymore. Your need to keep something changes. So being able to look at it in this way will help you to clean up your book. So I talked to you about shared albums. Here's the Savannah pictures that I talked to you about. So all of these photos are put into this album by multiple people who were all on the trip together. And when I want to look at them, I can by going to my shared album. And that's the only shared album I have right now. All right. Now, albums. So you can create albums that are videos. Here, they group them sometimes. So here's all my videos. Here's selfies. John and I take lots of selfies because my kids aren't here, so I have to take pictures of the two of us because there's nobody else. And then they've grouped it in live photos and bursts. If you're looking for space on your device, go here, go to bursts and delete them, because you don't need 10 of the same picture. And your phone is great for doing that. And I notice when John uses my phone to take pictures, he pushes harder than I do. And so he gets 10 or 15 of the same shot, where I am lighter and so I'm not taking it. So there's lots of bursts. Go in and delete all those bursts because you don't need them. And do you know what I'm talking about when I say that? So if you click on any one of these pictures, I'll pick one that I like here. Here's an example. So when I was in Alaska, I took this photo, but it actually took 2 photos. So now it says make a selection. And you click on make a selection, it shows me 2 different photos on the bottom, and I have to decide which one is better. And so once I select it, let's say this is better. I click on it on the bottom, and then I say done. It'll ask me, do you want to keep both of them, or do you want to keep the one that you selected? Well, if you're trying to get storage, you want to keep just the one that you said was the best. And then it'll delete the other one. Now remember, it puts it into that delete bucket, so if you change your mind, you can go back and get it. You've got 30 days to do that. But you find a lot of space if you go to the bursts. And I deleted a bunch of bursts yesterday when I was doing my presentation because I didn't really realize that they were all there. But here's this little boy at the farmer's market. Well, I thought he was adorable, and so I wanted a picture of him. Well, I got lots of pictures of him, not just one. And so it's nice that you can go in and make a selection and then decide which photo is the cutest and keep the one that you want and then get rid of the other ones. That's important if you're trying to get rid of space or create space. All right, now these are my albums. So I actually created these albums. Apple did not. I grouped photos the way I want to see them. And so another thing that I did, because I've been using my Mac for quite a few years now, and I was not using naming conventions that were consistent. And so when I looked at my albums, it was hard to figure out where did I put something. And so what I did yesterday is I went through and I renamed a lot of my albums. And so how you do that is you go to one of the albums and then you click on it and say rename, and then change the name of that album to a uniform convention. So this is what I mean. Everything that I do for my business, which is called Altogether Anna, I want to show up first because I'm using a lot of these photos for business, for work. So I put an AA at the beginning of everything that's work related. So you'll see, because the double A in the alphabet comes up before a regular A, all of my work things pushed to the top, which made me very happy. So here's my designs. And all of my designs now show up at the top, along with my catalog that I'm starting to build and things like that, because I put this AA at the beginning of all of them. Otherwise, I'd have to sort differently, or I'd have to go through all of my albums and search and search and search, and it gets frustrating. So spend the time to think about, how does my brain work and how am I going to look for photos, and write it down on a piece of paper, and then go in and rename all your albums. And it'll make a lot more sense. So what I decided to do, and you can do this or not, I'm just giving you what I did, is I saved everything alphabetically, and then I saved everything by year, because that goes to the bottom. So if I want to look at John and my Alaska trip, I put Alaska and then the year at the end of the name. Because maybe we'll go to Alaska again and it'll be 2018. Well, if that was to happen, then I would want it to say Alaska 2015 and Alaska 2018, and I'd want them to show up together. And so by doing it alphabetically, So here's Anna and John, and I have lots of different categories for Anna and John. Or here's my professional photos that I had done. So I use the alphabet. So there's my school class photos, and I call it Anna. So now I'm into my recipes and things, or product. Hopefully I don't show you something I don't want to show you. Becky and Mark's wedding. So if I'm going to go and look for Becky and Mark's wedding, I'm going to probably look under B for Becky. So that makes sense to me. And I tried to do my recipes that way too. Now, I may decide someday that I should have put recipes all under the word recipes and then the name of it. Then I could just go back in and recode them. And I might do that someday, but I didn't have time yesterday. But it's really important to think about what do you want. So here's a bread pudding French toast recipe that I did, and I took pictures of it because I might want to put that on my website. And so I need to be able to find the pictures if I ever get around to putting it up. And so it needs to be somewhere where I can get to it easily. Here's our trip to California. Well, the most important thing was we went to California in 2018. So I put California 2018. Well, I also went to California and took different pictures. So I named them based on how I wanted to name them. And I did this all the way through. So think about how you want to name them, and then it becomes much easier when you're going to look for a photo to find them in your album if you know how you named them all, as opposed to, darn it, where did I put that photo and now I can't find it? Because when you have 20,000 photos, it's really hard when you want to find something. So what happened was all the photos that I did by year, because I recategorized them into albums that were specific, they're not showing up anymore, but I don't care because Apple's already doing this for me now. So I don't have to do that anymore. Where before I used to have to save them into an album by year so I could go back and look at them. But now I don't have to because I can just go to my photos and it's by year, and there's no need for me to categorize them that way. If all I want is to see 2017, I don't have to do it myself. I was creating an album for 2017 so I could go back to it, assuming I remembered that the event happened in 2017. That's part of the issue that you have to think about. Here's a picture of my mom when she was a little girl. Now, she lived in Italy, and there were no pictures of my mom until recently. And so I got a picture of her when she's about 9 years old. Well, if we weren't in a digital age, my mom would now have this photo, but nobody else would. And so now, because I have it, I shared it with everybody. And so now all of my siblings and all of her grandchildren now have that photo too, and it'll live on. And before that, nobody had a photo of my mom when she was a little girl because she was in Italy and they didn't take photos of kids like we do here. So Apple is always updating and making things better. And so if you get frustrated with something, if you go into an Apple store and you talk to them about what you don't like about it, chances are there are lots of people who don't like that about it too, and then they make a change and make it easier for people. So it's not a bad thing to tell them when you have feedback. I certainly have no project telling them, or no problem telling them when I'm frustrated with their programs. Okay, so here's all of the albums and slideshows that I created myself over time. And as I said, that would have taken a long time for me to do that. Now I don't have to because any of the albums I create automatically, I can make them a slideshow. Now I might want to rearrange the order of the photos and things like that, but that's pretty sophisticated. I don't know that you necessarily want to do that, but you can. If that's something that you're really interested in, I'd be happy to come back another time and sit with you and help you do that. But I probably won't even do it myself now if I don't have to, unless there's something special. Everything that I have is backed up to the cloud, and I also have a time machine, which I brought, which is just an external hard drive. Sorry? It is? as of the date that I did my update. Now, I don't update all the time, and so I could lose things from, I think, maybe 2 months ago was probably the last time I backed it up. And I do that intentionally because I don't want to be backing it up all the time. Because if there's something here I want to get, if I run an update, it's going to wipe it out. So I generally don't do a backup too often, because if I want to go back and get something, then I know it's there. And then I'm pretty sure that I wanted it to go away by the time I go and do an update.
So the update.
When you plug this,
Something else go away?
when you plug this in and you run an update, it copies the information as of today, and it removes what's on the drive if that's how you have it set up to do it. So anything that's here will get written over by what I'm updating. That's how an update works.
But that's okay, isn't it? Because everything you're bringing from your computer
Lies.
is also,
How do I change that?
or from the cloud is also, it would just be duplicating otherwise.
There could be, for example, I did a slideshow of John's family when his parents passed away. Well, that slideshow had like 500 photos in it, and those photos were taken by lots of different people over a lot of years. And so what was happening was John's family was popping up in my photo stream, and it was frustrating me because I didn't know these people then. So I don't want their photos in the middle of my photos because it's not in the right order.
Because it would come up by year.
Well, it would come up by year, and it would be mixed in with all my photos. So I backed up this after I did the slideshow, and it's here. I also saved it on a disk, so John had it. We saved it as an MP4 to make sure I didn't lose it. But I don't want it in the middle of my photos because it's not my family, and it's not when I knew John. It's historical. And so if I was to do an update right now, it would remove that from this drive because it's not on my computer anymore. So you have to think about,
Instead of an update, you're doing just a whole new save.
I'm saving it to a memory stick or to burning a CD, DVD.
Well, his photos.
Hit, right. I'm,
But when you, okay, sorry,
when I'm doing my own update, I'm updating to this device.
you are. Okay.
Yes, yes. And there's
So
no,
you've separated it.
right. When I'm updating, whatever I have right now in the cloud is what I want to keep. Because I've already made that decision. But I give myself enough time to make sure that what I want to do is still the same, because we change our mind. So I'm just cautioning you, if you do an update every week, for example, that's almost too much. Give yourself enough time to think about, did I really want to do that? Because when you update to the time machine, it's going to take what's there today. And it might wipe out something that you wanted. So just think about it is all I'm saying. So all of these are my my videos or things that I've created that were important to me. So we had a close friend who moved away, and I created a slideshow for Teresa and Bill when they left, and so these are all ones that I created. But today, if I had to do that, I probably still would for an event like that, because I don't believe that Apple would be able to put the right photos together for me. But in a lot of other cases, they would. Okay? I'm not sure if I've answered what it is that you wanted to know, or if I've gone too far. Does anybody else have any questions?
I do.
Yes.
I'm transferring photos from email to my photos, and one it put in date today, and it was last December. How do I change that?
You can't. Because the photo, I don't know how to do that.
Okay.
Because today is the day you added the file. And so,
All the others were going in with the correct date from,
well, that means that the photo was stamped with a date then. See, they're really smart. I keep saying that, but they are. If the photo is stamped with a date, it's going to transfer over. But if there's no photo date on it, like if the camera that took that picture didn't have a date associated with it when it took the photo, then it only knows that the photo got added today. And you can't really change it because that's not how the photo exists. And that was part of the problem I was having with John's family pictures, was they were coming in on the date the photos were taken or given to me, and that was messing up my order of photos.
So if you don't have an Apple computer, I mean, I assume you can do iCloud, whether you're doing Microsoft or Apple or...
You can, but I don't know enough about the Windows application to be able to do it that way. That's why I said that's like a whole other workshop, or go to Apple and ask them to help you set it up on your computer. And they will if you want to use iCloud on a Windows computer. All right, well, that is all I have. I'm happy to answer any other questions.
We can now ask Anna individual questions, but please join me in thanking Anna for the presentation today.
okay.